Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic, less known classics. This is episode number. Let me take a look at me here. Okay, that's good. This is episode number 2364 and Doubleshot number 2258. Yeah, with these particular stuff here, well, most of talk about Masterworks and individual issues that were collected in a Thor Epic collection, which I'll get to. First up we have is Marvel Masterworks Captain Marvel Volume 4, featuring the original Captain Marvel, Marvel. These issues, basically, collect the book, are issues 34 to 46. Yes, roughly 13 issues. Written by Steve Eckhart, who pretty much writes the whole thing in here. He pretty much wrote all the issues. He covers issue 35 with Mike Frederick and issue 46 with Chris Claremont. Yep. Al Mogrum is your main artist for all the issues except for issues 34 and 36. You also have Jim Stalin does those two issues. 35 is done by Alfred Lucchina. This book covers time period of September 1984 to September 1976. So, this is a bit of a surprise. About 2 years. Well, I think because basically they put the series in hiatus for a month. Mostly, but anyways, like first it seems like it was like every couple months. I think with 36, it kind of was still, they were still doing bi-monthly. It was like bi-monthly. That's the reason why basically we have this many issues released in 2 years. 34 is famous for the debut of the man who would start Civil War I, Nitro. Yep. Yeah, they said, featuring Nitro, the man who killed Captain Marvel. That proved to be true. Yep. And basically it's also Lunatic Legion, and basically he gets defeated this issue. And here's a little fun fact for you. Like, after he is defeated, guess where he next appears? Right after he gets defeated in this very issue. This is quite interesting for him. Like, after this issue, he pops up in Omega the Unknown number 8. And then he returns to Captain Marvel from one appearance after appearing in 2 issues of Peter Parker Tech-Expo, which I've covered these issues already. Appearing in issue of Marvel Team Up, New Mutants, a few issues of Cage, Two Good Defenders, Cosmic Power. He appeared sporadically. He put a lot more. He had a lot more fruit appearances, somewhat over the years. Like if you're curious, his most recent appearance was actually in the Captain Marvel Dark Tempest miniseries. Yeah, so mostly put basically we're all still with the Lunatic Legion. They're a group of basically insurgents for the Kree, who mostly put her there to send out various threats to take on Captain Marvel. Yeah, and they're a minor threat to Captain Marvel mostly. They like they kind of appear in issue 34, but mostly put basically they're just there to unleash people. And then issue 35 fights Living Laser, who turns to be a freaking robot. Yep. And also fighting Nihilus as well. Now, 36 is partially a reprint and a new story. Yeah, basically, he ends up fighting the Watcher in this issue. Yes. And then here's the thing. Then in issue 37, he teams up with Ant-Man the Wasp, take on Nimrod the Hunter, and the first appearance of Lunatic Legion. I'm not sure. Yeah. He ends up fighting him because of stuff related to Lunatic Legion. And eventually turns the good side. Or because of Lunatic Legion. And then here's the strange thing, though. This is an interesting little fun fact about Captain Marvel issue 39. This is the very issue where we finally reveal Uatu's real name. Like, here's the thing. He was just known simply the Watcher since Fantastic Four issue 13. And no one knew his name. This is revealed his name, Uatu. Interesting. Yeah, I'm like, that is interesting. Who would have thought that would happen? And then issue 40, we have the return of Carol Danvers. And of course, where Una, Captain Marvel's girlfriend, who got killed off in issue number 11. Yeah, she's here kind of as a one final appearance for her. Very possible until Legion. Yeah, she survived via Parasite, and I guess Eckhart's going to bring her back just to basically off again, just as basically a way to wrap up the character. And then basically spends next issue fighting fighting the Supreme Intelligence and Ronan the Accuser. And 41 is the end of the Lunatic Legion. Yeah, this is the end for them because they don't really appear after this. And then 41, it fights a Stranger. Yes, the frickin' Stranger. Yeah, for one issue. And then, like, the next issue, he fights somebody else. Next issue, he fights Drax. He basically encounters Drax the Destroyer for the first time. Yes, and here's the strange thing. He kind of becomes basically a support character in someone else's book. In this book in particular, he becomes a supporting character. Not sure why. But Eckhart was writing the book, but it was a way to basically keep him active. Fighting this intelligent along with group creature known as Neutrons. And in 45 and 46, he fights a guy called General Head for a couple issues, and that's it. These issues are still pretty good. I do like some of the negative zone stuff here. We're continuing basically just building toward the end of the first one for Captain Marvel, which at this point was 16 more issues left to go. We have 2 more volumes left. And then this is pretty much it for him. I'm going to give these issues roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Yep. Now, basically when it comes to Thor, we're discussing issues 302 to I think it's like 319. Now, and of course also annuals 9 and 10. The reason I'm discussing these issues is because this was collected in the Thor Epic Collection. Yes, in Thor Epic Collection number volume 11. Though 302 is not there, but I decided to throw in 302 because it's not in the trade, so why not talk about it? Yeah, definitely. These are a bit of an interesting set of issues per se. It's not as good as it once were, but this is the kind of the era where let's just have some stuff happen, like in issue 302. And by the way, we have Mark Greenwald writing this issue, yes. Now, Mark Greenwald himself, when I read the book very long. No, not really. Hickok writes a book with Ralph Mitchell. We have the first appearance of a guy called Locust, who only appears from this issue and Thor the Legend, a book that was released in 1986. And that was it for him. And then 303, he fights some priest known as Alangelo Semi. And you're thinking, okay, what's going on here? Why is he fighting this? Of course, the backup story by Mark Greenwald. Well, the reason why he's fighting some priest is because Doug Moak has started this run for the book. Yes. Is like in the case of Fantastic Four, was not the good run. It's slightly better. This run is very weird and very weirdly written. And if you're really curious, though, how long does he stay on the book? If you're really curious of how long he stays in the book for Thor, the answer, well, this book covers most of his run. There's a handful of issues after this that he does do, but that was it. He was in the book for 2 years. Like after 303, at 303, he skips some issues, comes back to 308, and then there's a 13 issue run. Leaves for 1 issue, comes back for 24, 28, and that is it for him. No, seriously, that's it. And then 304, he fights the Wrecking Crew. And the first appearance of West Side Medical Clinic, which is a clinic that Donald Blake works at, very briefly. Yeah, he appears in this issue, and he basically has to leave by 312. Well, there's kind of a reason for that. Well, and then 305, we have the debut of a character known as the Airwalker, who gets killed off in this issue. Yeah, well, actually, he fights Airwalker, who dies. Yeah, he frickin' dies. And you're thinking, really? Yeah, he dies. After these two appearances, and after 306, he returns in Silver Surfer, which I'll discuss in a later review. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then 307. Oh boy. Fights a Dream Demon. There's one issue I wasn't really a big fan of. The stuff here with Loki in issue 308, which is quite interesting. I like that stuff with Loki. Fight people called the Bombarders. They're only around for a couple appearances. It's interesting to fight Thor fighting this flying thing. Fighting Mephisto in 311, the 310, and the 311. Oh boy. 311. This is an issue where there's basically a bit of almost a full-scale riot going on. You see, you have Donald Blake performing surgery on this guy called Jimmy Savers, who gets shot by a police officer for reasons. And by the way, this came out a decade before the Rodney King incident, where there are protesters. The fact that where there's a sign in front of the clinic where it says Jimmy Savers, a victim of police brutality, and the police don't like that very much at all. And you have where Donald Blake just finished with surge up. He goes to leave because basically it gets really bad out there, and tells everybody to stop. And then he slices up the ground like, "What are you doing, damaging city property?" The way this issue is written is really weird. Like, how to properly explain this issue? It's like basically the people of this neighborhood have never seen Thor before, despite the fact he's been active since the 60s. Like, the way Doug wrote this, it's like this neighborhood has never seen before. This topic he's been in the papers and been on TV. It's like they apparently do not know who Thor is. And all he's trying to do is get people to calm down. And then sadly, Jimmy Savers dies. And then, of course, the very next issue, Donald Blake gets brought up on charges. You think, wait, this is a wrongful death suit. Or at least, maybe like manslaughter. But it's almost like the way they're implying, the way Doug writes in here, it's almost like basically he had it where Thor, well, not Thor, Donald Blake is accused of murder. And the fact that the whole storyline with this clinic is simply just cut out by 312. Yeah, by 312, he is dismissed from the clinic. Well, of course, dealing with his own brother. Yeah, has to do with Tyre. Yeah, and that's basically in 312. But yeah, he's suspended from the clinic. So basically, they close the clinic, and then in 313, they have death of a bunch of Valkyries. Yeah, and their one last hurrah. Which you could say this story was probably loosely adapted for Thor Ragnarok. Yes, mostly. Of course, you're probably trolling. Yeah, and this kind of basically in the way with this clinic, the clinic that Basic Comic is part of, it's like a drop from here. It's like basically like, yeah, this clinic is not working with the Donald Blake stuff. So, yeah, this is basically this social stuff is not working for Thor. It's like Doug was trying to do this with Thor, like maybe bring some social stuff in the book, maybe might bring some more lively, but my guess is it didn't work with Thor. Like, it doesn't work. He's used to fighting monsters, not social stuff. Like, if this was Captain America, that'd be fine. Or, what about Iron Man per se? No, it wouldn't work. I'd say maybe Spider-Man mostly, that might work. But Thor? Yeah, my guess is maybe some of the editors probably at Marvel were not happy with this storyline. With the whole thing of, like, not the fact Donald Blake will work in clinic. That was not the issue. The whole thing of him accusing, like, it's like basically they rushed the whole subplot of this clinic really quickly. And then basically, I guess if they're like, okay, let's have Thor fight some do more interesting stuff. Tony Stark here. We have basically with Moondragon, who last appeared back in Avengers 211. which, by the way, that came out in August. This was September, like the very next month. Yeah. And then, of course, he has to do with By Beast. Yes, freaking By Beast. I'm like, that's cool. Like, him fighting a monster like By Beast, that makes total sense. And he's only here, shockingly, for 2 issues. Yeah, 2 issues he's here for. And then, basically, by, in 316, for some reason, they basically have it where in 316 they have Man-Thing show up. Yes, Man-Thing is in this book. And of course, he finds out with Iron Man for a couple issues. Yeah. Which I found these issues be a lot. This issues feel like it was a lot better. We have a Kingdom Lost, which is tired of the trade. Storyteller stuff. But the 318 was actually was a much better issue. And then we have 319, where he fights some creature known as Zanuck. Who, this actually was his debut appearance. And he was just a guy called Brad Wolf, a serial killer. And that was it for that one. Mm-hmm. But what about the Thor annuals, you might ask? Well, the Thor annuals are amazing. You have Thor versus Dormammu in annual number 9. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we also, but Doctor Strange has not been really appearing. He's been occasionally, not during this book, but in a different book. And then in annual number 10, he fights a creature known as the God Eater. Yeah, it's like, these annuals are amazing. And here's the thing. Doug Moak doesn't write these. 9 is written by Chris Claremont. And then, annual number 10 is written by Mark Greenwald and Alex Zanuck, with Bob Hall doing artwork with that one. And Luke McDonald, who basically, we'll talk about in the later review, but these issues are, it's like basically, you can definitely see it reading these issues that it starts off okay for the most part. Yeah, that's what it seems like anyway. It seems like a good start with 302. Like an okay start. And then basically we get to this weird stuff. Because Doug Muller took over the book. Well, he's on here for like 1 issue, he skips. And it seems like we was writing the book. The book was awesome under basically Mark Greenwald. Like kind of, you would think basically they might feature a little more, but no, not really. Yeah, and also basically 304 Steve with the clinic Doubleshot would briefly work at, and then the place is shut down. And then of course you have to fight Airwalker for a couple issues. It's like basically like you can see these issues like, yeah, the non-Doug Moak issues are really cool. 307 is interesting at best. 309, it's better. It does feel like a Thor issue you would think of. 309 is pretty interesting for what it is. I do like 310. 311 and 312, I'm not a fan of these issues at all. This weird 2-parter. I do like the tire stuff. It seems like the whole social stuff with Thor, like I said, just did not work. So they had to shut it down. So there's that. I'm going to give these issues roughly a 9 out of 10. But next time, basically, hopefully, we're going to move past Doug Moak and basically with some more interesting. Now, if you're really curious, though, there's not many issues left to go for him. Not really. With this book in particular, we covered almost this entire run that he did for the book. Yeah, almost the entire thing. If you're really curious, we have approximately 8 issues left. And when I discuss our next volume for the series, well, next set of issues, which will be, when I get back to it, it'll be issues 323, 36, which will be the end of this run. Yes. And quite interesting. Yep. So yeah, that's particularly a particular view. Stay tuned for my next view, which will be One Piece. Okay, next view.